on our companion network C-SPAN 2. A newscast from Serbian TV is next. Then President Clinton on the refugee situation in the Balkans. Washington Journal gets underway at 7 with more discussion on the situation in Yugoslavia. Our guests this morning include Republican presidential candidate Steve Forbes.
Gledate Dnevnik, Radio Television Serbia. Respected audience, the President of the Republic, Slobodan Milošević, held a meeting today dedicated to the renewal and reconstruction of the destroyed and damaged facilities in the bombing campaign against our country by the NATO aggressors. The main agent of this urgent and comprehensive assignment will be the Agency for Reconstruction of the Infrastructure, established by the authorized federal and republics, ministries and Institute for Infrastructure. Immediate measures will be undertaken against the sustained damages on traffic and other infrastructure facilities. It was stated that the Yugoslav civil engineers, who have shown their prowess in numerous complex structures and projects around the world, will manage even now with their knowledge and their work ethics to reconstruct as soon as possible many of these damaged facilities vital for the economy and the population. The Minister of Civil Engineering, Dejan Kovačević, and the Director of Infrastructure Institute, Milutin Mrkonjić, laid out the approach for carrying out this task. The meeting considered other questions significant for the functioning of the public services. It was stated that the measures prescribed for the event of war are being successfully implemented. The President of the Republic and Supreme Commander of the Armed Forces of Yugoslavia, Slobodan Milošević, announced the recipients of orders and commandments. The President of the Republic and the Supreme Commander of Armed Forces of Yugoslavia, Slobodan Milošević, announced the recipients of orders and commendations for the members of the command structure of the 3rd Division of the Army, who have fought the evil aggressors' forces of the NATO coalition and have passed the highest combat test in their encounter with the criminal forces that are many times more powerful than themselves. The Order of War Flag of 1st degree was given to the Lieutenant General Lazarević Vladimir, commander of the Pristina Corps. For personal courage in the defense of the Federal Republic of Yugoslavia, the following colonels received the Medal of Courage. Lieutenant Colonel Janković Jelić Radivoja Krsman, Čirković Vojna Mladen, Mandić Branka Miloš, Jošan Nike Miloš, Lieutenant Colonel Dragoljub Maličko, Major Đurić Đure Zoran. The Medal of Knightly Sword, 1st degree, was bestowed upon Captain of 1st Class Kerkez Borivoje Goran. The Medal for Special Distinction in Defense and Security was bestowed upon Master Sergeant 1st Class Lakićević Miroslav Dragar, Sergeant Đužić Jovana Dejan, and the privates Grujić Mihajla Zoran and Milovanović Petra Sasha. The Medal for Courage was bestowed also upon the journalist of TV Serbia Dreco Milovan Petar and the cameraman of TV Serbia Magoči Andraša Tomislav. In Pristina today there were intense political discussions. First, the Vice President of Federal Government Nikola Šajnović had a discussion with Dr. Ibrahim Rugova, after which the Ambassador of the Russian Federation to Yugoslavia, Yuri Kotov, had a meeting with the leader of the Kosovo Albanians. During that discussion, Ibrahim Rugova repeated his previous statement that the bombing of Yugoslavia should be stopped as soon as possible so that political resolution of the problem can be sought for the resolution of a problem in this southern province of Yugoslavia. Today there was a meeting between the Vice President of Federal Government Nikola Šajnović and Dr. Ibrahim Rugova. This is a follow-up to the meeting between Dr. Ibrahim Rugova and President Milošević held on April 1st, 1999. During this discussion, there was an agreement of total readiness, in the first place, for joint work on a political process towards the resolution of the Kosovo question. Second, joint work on the return of the refugees and displaced persons to their earlier homes. In Pristina today there was a discussion between the leader of the Kosovo Albanians, Ibrahim Rugova, and the ambassador of the Russian Federation in Belgrade, Dr. Kotov. Dr. Kotov spoke to the journalists and repeated the statement that the bombing should be stopped as soon as possible so we can go back to political dialogue. He expressed his satisfaction that Dr. Rugova shares that opinion. Thanks to the engagement of Russia in the resolution of the Kosovo problem, Ibrahim Rugova stressed that one should find as soon as possible resolution for this part of the Balkans. I'm currently preparing, together with my colleagues, to work in Pristina so that we can resolve this situation. The Russian ambassador Yuri Kotov mentioned that as of tomorrow, various trucks with humanitarian aid are coming to Yugoslavia, to many, many parts of Yugoslavia, Serbia, Kosovo, and Montenegro. This humanitarian assistance should be given to all of the population in Kosovo, regardless of whether they're Serbs, Albanians, Romes, or other ethnic groups. The Yugoslav politicians have called upon all displaced persons to go back to their homes. They should be courageous and come back while the bombs are still falling. Dr. Rugova has been very courageous and has stayed here during this period of danger. The Russian media have given a lot of attention to the meeting held in Pristina, especially to Rugova's statement that the NATO bombing in Yugoslavia has to stop immediately. It's essential to stop the current situation in Kosovo, to stop the bombing and establish control over the situation. It was stressed by Rugova, and this was carried out by Russian media as the main foreign policy information. It was also stressed the leader of the Kosovo Albanians asked for the consideration of the question on international level. It was also expressed especially that Mr. Rugova denied all of the speculations of the foreign media, especially after the meeting with the President Slobodan Milosevic. All of that is speculation. He simply commented. All of those are lies that for the past 10 days have been spread by the media in the West. The ambassador to the Russian Federation, Yuri Kotov, and the president of the Temporary Council of Kosovo, Zoran Anđelković, toured the city stadium of Pristina and confirmed that the claims of some of the Western media about people being held on that stadium, they discussed about the consequences of the Nazi NATO attacks for the previous day. Ambassador Kotov notified Zoran Anđelković about the discussion with Mr. Rugova that confirmed that he was allowed and had freedom of movement and that his house was whole. This again denied the speculations of Western media and leaders that Rugova's house was burning and that he had been arrested. The ambassador also said that Rugova had denied yesterday's claims of the spokesperson of NATO that he had not met with the President Milosevic, and that he confirmed that on 1st of April he really met the President of Yugoslavia, which means that television shot was not 2 years old. Military analysts, based on the acting of the NATO alliance in our country, have concluded that there is serious disunity in NATO, both on command structure and political, and the protests are general expression of the people in the West. In 150 cities of Germany, the traditional Easter March of Peace became a march against the aggression of NATO. This was the occasion for so many people to come to the streets as never before. In Berlin, more than 5,000 people expressed their statement against NATO and asked for immediate stop to the bombing. German police arrested a man who was carrying a protest poster that shows the German Chancellor Schroeder as Adolf Hitler. As a solidarity, many demonstrators carried target symbols to add to the protests in Yugoslavia. In Frankfurt, more than 9,000 people called for a peaceful resolution and stopping of the evil bombing of Yugoslavia. Bombs do not bring peace. They do not prevent humanitarian catastrophe. They only bring more suffering and more evil and create humanitarian catastrophe. Please stop this evil aggression, this destruction. Please stop this violence against humanity. This is the message to these evil people by Jasminka Čakar, famous Macedonian pianist, Nada Gešovska, famous Macedonian actress, and Slavica Galić-Petrovska, who were speaking on behalf of the Women's Association of Macedonia to the ambassador of Yugoslavia to Macedonia. My heart is in Serbia. One courageous heart is stronger than all evils. This is what was said by Mrs. Čakar. The aggression against Yugoslavia is the greatest evil of the 20th century. We wish to all the people in Yugoslavia to survive as they always have throughout the century. Our power is in the unity of our leadership and our people, said Ambassador Jan Načković. They attacked us as cowards and worse than Hitler in 1941, but we shall win as always when we fought for freedom and our home, because justice is on our side. The support given by the Macedonian people is very important to us, and we are very grateful to it, said the ambassador of Yugoslavia. It is certain that the tragedy is felt by the Serbian people in Yugoslavia, but the greatest tragedy will be survived by the American people who want to call their leader, the world leader, and when they realize that he has stepped on a mine, that he has found great unity of people who are completely behind one man and his policy, who are completely behind their country and their message. I'm very glad that your people have expressed that. I think that if nothing else, we have to learn from the Serbian people how we have to be unified. This is what we have to learn, and all nations. In Washington, in front of the house that was once upon called White House, there were more than 3,000 people, originally Serbs, who demanded immediate cessation to the bombing, carried posters, and were claiming that Serbs will never give up. As Tanjuk relays, these people were carrying Serbian flag 30 meters long. In Bratislava, just as previous days, there have been Slovak protests against the brutal aggression of Yugoslavia. These demonstrators, in solidarity with the Serbian people, also came out in front of the embassies of Germany and Great Britain and France. There were many protests in Thessaloniki, in Agios Palos, about 1,000 people, the island of Tassos, Kavala, and they managed to collect 20 million drachmas. This money will be used for food and medicine that will be sent as soon as possible to the most endangered areas of Yugoslavia. The Federation of the Police Forces of Greece also sent a petition to the Greek government condemning the NATO attack and expressing their support for the Serbian people, announcing their own humanitarian assistance to the Serbian people. Also this evening in Greece, there have been many protests against the evil bombing of Federal Republic of Yugoslavia. In Paris, the Association of Serbs and Yugoslavs have sent an appeal to the French government to stop the bombing and apologize to the Serb people in order to get rid of this incredible fault and this incredible mistake that the French people have committed. The brutal attack of the NATO forces and the French cannot be justified, especially not by the cowboy Clinton, his shadow Blair, and the American poltrons in many European states that influenced the wrong decision of the French government. This shame will never be forgiven. We appeal to the French people to immediately stop this evil so as to be on the same side with the Serbs, just as they were in the First and the Second World War. Despite all of the blockade of the Western media, there are still certain messages from Yugoslavia that come from Yugoslavia. The citizens and the public opinion in Yugoslavia has never been more unified. Now they will defend freedom at any cost. The miners of all of the mines in Serbia gathered today in Rembas, in Resavica, and appealed for solidarity with their friends throughout the world. When you're talking about the Serbs and when you think you've defeated them, don't think of that, because you have to think of all of the Serbian pride, patriotism, courage, spite, our perseverance. Montenegro, all of Montenegro, will be defending Yugoslavia, defends itself, defends its history, its freedom, its history. Today, under the excuse, Nikšić again today protested against the attack and was rejoicing at the image of the Supreme Commander of the Yugoslav Army. Around 1,000 people gathered in the downtown of Nikšić expressed their determination to defend the fatherland, Yugoslavia, and sent a message to their brothers in Serbia that they'll be with them and won't betray them, as they have never betrayed them in history.
Da smo zajedno. Aj se ti da pevate kada.
This is the 13th day of the evil aggression against our country, the huge murder machine, at the order of the criminals from Washington, London, Brussels and Bonn, is continuing to attack civilian targets, endangering lives of children, ill people and all people of Yugoslavia. The material damage is huge, but people, as you've seen, are not afraid. In today's evil attack of the air forces of NATO on Vranje, with 11 missiles hitting Vranje, 2 people died and 23 have been injured. This was confirmed by the Civil Defense headquarters in Vranje. Many civilian objects were destroyed in the city and around it. Many roofs, windows have been broken, and many roads and sidewalks have been covered by dirt and refuse. In this second air attack on Vranje, committed in the middle of the day, several family houses have been destroyed. Their owners are cleaning up the debris. You were left without a house? Yes. The people are alive. I was with my daughter and son-in-law 5 minutes before the attack here. Humanity has not seen anything like this before. I hope they'll never see it again. Much damage by the NATO alliance was sustained by the tobacco factory, DIF, as well as the bus station of the city. In tonight's attack of the fascist and aggressive alliance of NATO, the city of Raška was hit by 7 destructive missiles that left huge destruction, primarily on civilian objects. The new bridge on the river Ibar, only 15 kilometers away from the city, was hit by 3 missiles. According to eyewitnesses, during this terrible attack, there were no cars nor pedestrians, which avoided even greater misery. In Biljanovac, there are no houses without broken windows or damaged roof. In the town itself, the detonation in some of the old settlements has damaged many old houses, schools, sports centers. Many roofs have been damaged, many window frames, and you can see this all over the place. The grammar school Raška sustained the greatest damage, and this was a school for 1,000 grammar school kids. The high school and the gymnasium also sustained huge damage. The sport hall nearby has been left only to its bare concrete construction. 1 person died and 11 people were injured. The aggressors of NATO alliance around 4:15 this morning attacked with missiles Zemun, the target of the evil air force. Were many facilities in the downtown area where you have a lot of residential buildings, sport hall Pinky, the agricultural faculty, the shopping center and the Air Force Club. We do not have any information on victims so far. In tonight's attack of the downtown Zemun, the NATO aggressors damaged considerably the agricultural faculty building, the grammar school Svetozar Miletić and the music school Kosta Manojlović. the school with greatest number of talents and well-known musicians around the world. The American gangsters attacked again the heart of Zemun. They haven't really given us any military damage so far. They're hitting civilian targets in residential areas to provoke fear. They cannot understand that after each bomb attack, Serbian people are more determined and more devoted to their fatherland and to the holy Kosovo land. This is not going to go to any good end. This is only going to disclose their murderous essence, their perfid intentions, the lack of humanity. And after all, everybody around the world knows that in principle, there is no distinction between Hitler and Clinton. This is aggression and vandalism. And an educated person, a patriot, could not have hoped that this would happen, because this is one of the oldest universities in this part of Europe and one of the oldest faculties in this area of the Balkans. They're not even choosing their target. The university is a spiritual refuge of Serbian people and all people. When evil men go into attack, they don't choose means to achieve their ends. Every horrible idea like this has to be doomed. This morning, around 4:15, there were two powerful detonations close to the city hospital in the Belgrade county of Zvezdara. The firefighters were very fast on the spot and reacted very efficiently. The doctor on duty, Petar Radonja, stated that in this medical institution there was no damage. The patients were, however, quite distressed. He added, but they have all been taken care of, and the hospital, despite these circumstances, is functioning normally. In the basement of this school, there were about 30 people hidden together with their children who live close by in these very small houses, and they had no other refuge. It could have happened, God forbid, that they all would have been buried underground. On many buildings in the Belgrade settlement of Zvezdara, there is damage inflicted by the rockets and missiles. There are many broken windows, and roofs on many houses have been damaged, including some houses themselves. Some missiles came close to the city hospital and the grammar school in Zvezdara, which is used as a refuge by many people around. But they were also exposed to this vandalistic attack of the NATO alliance, which is another confirmation that they're endangering innocent lives. Several hours after the air attack on Niš, the storage facility of tobacco factory is still burning. The firefighters are trying to keep the fire under control. In the storage facility, more than 1,000 tons of tobacco are burning that are valued at $5 million. The material damage is still being estimated. In the attack on the tobacco factory, there was also severe damage to the kindergarten for the workers of the factory, which is currently attended by 500 children per day. The criminals also damaged the clinic of the factory. In tonight's attack on Niš, they also damaged the children's facility in the clinic. The commander of the civil defense headquarters in Niš announced that there were no victims. In the second attack on Niš this morning at 5:20, there were 3 rockets on the central areas of Niš. One of the rockets was neutralized. The NATO fascists attacked buildings that are so close to universities, to student houses. Behind the building where the fire was localized, there is a grammar school, Duško Radović. The consequences of the missile attack can be seen everywhere. Damaged stores, cars, broken windows on buildings, and many educational institutions. In tonight's attack of the evil army, The village of Gračanica again became a target, together with the holiest place of the Serbs, Gračanica, the monastery. Close to the village and the monastery, there were 2 airplane bombs that fell, that hit civilian targets, houses of people from Gračanica, inflicting huge material damage. Fortunately, there were no human victims, but once again, the peace of this village has been interrupted. At one of the command posts of the Third Army, there was analysis of all of the duties, combat duties that have been executed by this army. The commander of the Third Army, Lieutenant General Nebojša Pavkovic, gave further duties and commendations for the expressed courage and professionalism, the high morale. In today's analysis, they especially spoke about combat experience and the work of the military courts. They also spoke about plan for further defense of the country and engagement of all of the potentials of the country in resistance to the aggressor. It has been expressed that the Third Army possesses a huge human potential, that the morale is on a very high level, that the response of conscripts is very high, and that all of the structures of society are functioning successfully in defense of the country. The highest commanding officers of the Third Army appealed to the citizens and to the Supreme Commander, as well as to the government bodies, saying that they will continue to defend the country and its sovereignty. They also undertook all necessary measures, engaging the most modern and up-to-date technology. They're completely aware of their historic responsibility to defend the country and fatherland against the attacks of the aggressor, who is showing genocidal intentions towards the Federal Republic of Yugoslavia. We have kept every step of our soil, and we have inflicted huge damages to the aggressor in their most modern technology. This shows that people who fight for freedom cannot be defeated by anybody, including an evil alliance like this one. We defend our fatherland with our heart, unlike the aggressor. We always remember our ancestors who always won against evil armies that had attacked our country in the past, against our monuments, against our families. The battle against aggression is a battle for survival of our country. We, the members of the Third Army, we will be wholly dedicated to this duty, to defend our country and the right to our future. Last night, aggressor forces of NATO continued their merciless attack on Pristina and the wider region. For a third time so far, the missiles close to one of our holiest monasteries, Gračanica. The targets were again the airport in Slatina, and there were many detonations in downtown Pristina. At 2:12 this morning, 3 missiles hit the headquarters of Jugopetrol in Pristina, only 15 meters away from Orthodox cemetery. Fortunately, the monuments of this Serbian cemetery were not damaged, but there was damage to the chapels of the cemetery. The roof of the old chapel, the windows, as well as the facade of the new building. For many times now, for the past 12 days, the evil aggressors of NATO are attacking our holy places, unscrupulously going after the resting sites for the soul. The headquarters of Jugopetrol is completely destroyed in Pristina. All of the underground and 1 overground gas reservoirs are destroyed, and fully destroyed is the road infrastructure around it. The strength of the detonation is illustrated by this vehicle that ended up on the roof of a building. The fire was localized only this morning at 11 o'clock. The target of last night's vicious attack of the evil criminal alliance of NATO was also the airport near Slatina, near Pristina. The greatest damage was inflicted by the main building and the auxiliary buildings of the civil airport. Many broken windows, partial damage to the interior and the counters inside. The bombs, according to eyewitnesses, came during this barbaric attack as a whole cover of the sky. And the missiles that didn't hit their target damaged the earth as well as other civilian buildings around the airport. One of the rockets hit the power plant in the village of Slatina, so there is no electricity for the villages of Ariljača, Trešnjavo and part of Slatina, villages that are primarily inhabited by Albanians. 12 nights of evil bombing of our country, of the neo-fascists of the Western Alliance. 12 nights we have been targets in Kosovsko Mitrovica. Around 23:12, there were 2 rockets that hit the signal tower near the mine. At the same time, 2 evil rockets destroyed the bridge in the village Jezgorovic on the road Ibaric. This is how the bridge looks at the lake after the evil attack. The missiles of these criminals don't choose their targets on ethnic grounds. In the area that's primarily Albanian by population, in this attack, there were many family houses destroyed. The aggressor planes attacked with rockets the area of Prizren, Suvareka and Dragiša and damaged many civilian objects. These evil attacks of the NATO Air Force hit the village Šajnovce near Dragaš, which is almost entirely Albanian in population. As we learn, the latest attack left 3 people injured that have been taken care of in the medical center in Dragaš. The Civil Defense Agency of Serbia are protecting the citizens of Kosovo against the bombardments of the fascists of the NATO alliance. They organized humanitarian and medical assistance. The border crossing General Jankovic was visited by 3 medical teams at the initiative of the Interim Council of Kosovo and Metohija, Red Cross and other health organizations from Kosovo and Metohija. These citizens, primarily Albanians, were given almost 1,000 various medicines. Our basic goal is not only to help you with medicine and food, but also to talk to you and help you come back. We want to live together with everybody in this area. There is space for all of us. We are here with our mobile units. We are here in Kačanik to help today, to help all of the population, regardless of their faith and national belonging. I thank to the state, to all of the state bodies, to all of those who are investing their efforts to help people. Professor Dr. Vukašin Andrić stated that he will be giving the help in a continuous measure, continuous fashion. This morning at 2:35, the fascist aggressor forces of NATO attacked the chemical industry Milan Blagojević in Lučani. According to first information, there are no victims nor injured, but the material damage is being assessed. Given the nature of this factory, there is a justified concern that some of these hits could cause ecological catastrophe. The factory Milan Blagojević has been working for the past 50 years and has really created economic renewal in this region. With its 4,000 workers, they have provided sustenance for so many people in this county. The criminal alliance of NATO aggressors last night, second time, attacked the territory of the Leposavić county. 1 bomb destroyed the tunnel Šarpelj near Leprinja. During the day, the area around the tunnel has been cleaned, and currently they're working on reestablishing the damaged telephone lines. During last night, the village of Bričević near Valjevo was targeted by 3 missiles of the NATO criminals. There were no human victims, but there is a lot of material damage on some of the residential objects in this village and surrounding area. The headquarters of civil defense in Sombor confirmed that this morning, again, Sombor was hit. The gas industry was hit. The gas industry facility, located 10 kilometers from Sombor. According to the data, in this 4th attack, there were no human victims, but the material damage is considerable. Tomorrow's issue of Politica Express publishes an article under the title "Bombs Have Arrived," which says, for 13 days now, the Nazi army of NATO is sowing death around Serbia and Yugoslavia. In this situation, there is a wise silence by those who, even before Kosovo, while the madness of the New World Order brought bloody destruction to former Yugoslavia, knew that Serbs were the only culprits and that as such they have to be punished and, if possible, be bombarded. Who knew that Serbs are guilty, both in the case of Markale and the Mishkin Street, and who demanded even stronger sanctions for Serbia, who knew from the beginning of the externally provoked crisis in Kosovo, knew that the Albanian separatists and terrorists are right, and desired and demanded all along bombs for the Serbs. Is this the perfidy of betrayal that was denounced during the establishment of the Committee of the University Left in November of last year by Dr. Mirjana Markovic, president of the Yule Party? Is this the moment that the betrayal hit the highest point, as Professor Markovic said, explaining that treason is not always necessarily brutal? As it looked to me, approximately a few days ago, when one of the owners of Belgrade paper said that he supports the American people in their desire to bomb the Serbian people. We are talking about Slavko Čuruvija and his daily paper Telegraph, who was trying through his paper to explain to the Serbs how to get away from their current policy. The same Slobodan Čuruvija came under the blow of the law, but also under the attack of the law in his country. His appeal for help against the dictatorship in Serbia came even to Clinton. Dictatorship in a country where the president has been elected freely. Dictatorship in which there, aside from this Telegraph paper, there have been so many independent papers speaking about Serbs, even in worse terms than on CNN. Today, when these desired bombs are hitting Serbia, those traitors are silent. If they're waiting for Serbia to die, they're waiting in vain. But if they think that their betrayal will be forgotten, they're also hoping in vain. Respected audience, a few minutes ago, there has been announced again imminent air attack. Do you know all of the rules for such situations?
We'll talk more about the military action in Yugoslavia this morning on Washington Journal. Our guests include retired Lieutenant Colonel Joseph Collins, a senior fellow with the Center for